So welcome everybody to this session where I'm going to be talking about this topic, the ME/CFS, long COVID, fibromyalgia and healing mindset traits. So do let me know if you're watching live or watching the replay. Just put hashtag replay if you are watching the replay. Put live, say hi if you're watching live. So does mindset have any relevance to recovery of ME/CFS, fibromyalgia, long COVID and related conditions? In my experience, in my personal experience, I would say the answer is yes. Shifting my mindset supported my recovery. Consider the research that says that optimists have better health outcomes. That illustrates to me one thing, that mindset is important. So I'm going to share 8 ideas around mindset. This is the kind of first 8 things that I talk about when I train people. Okay, and I'd like to invite you to consider whether these are relevant, useful to you. But before we start that, I just invite you just to close your eyes for a moment, as long as that's safe to do so. And I invite you just to take in a breath, breathe in through your nose if that's comfortable, into your belly. Breathe out of your nose. Just allow your out breath to be a little bit longer than your in breath. And as you focus on your breath, breathing in, you might imagine it as a colour. Breathe in that colour. See it going into your lungs, being picked up by the blood and circulated around your body, oxygenating and nourishing the cells, helping the cells just do the work they need to do. As you breathe out, just letting go of anything that you don't need right now. Just allowing yourself to be in this present moment. And I invite you from time to time throughout the day, anytime you notice you're feeling a little bit off track, to just do that technique or other techniques, just to bring yourself back to your centre. So let's continue with this. Say if you are watching live, do say hello. Just let me know you can see me and hear me. So the first mindset shift that I'm going to talk about, actually, just to backtrack, this is the third part in a series. In the first video, I talked about the topic of shifting from fear to trust, accessing the healing state. Okay, I did that last week. Now, I was going to do, this is all about connecting to your body, and I was going to do a session on the next bit, which is connecting to your emotions, but actually I covered a lot of that in this video. I'll put the link below this video to those 2 other videos, so check out those 2 videos. So this in a sense is part 3, talking about mindset shifts. Okay, and so the first thing I want to talk about in relation to adopting a healing mindset is about making a decision. Okay, so I encourage you to really think about the idea of sorry, I'm just trying to get my little image of me whilst I'm showing you the videos, but it doesn't seem to want to work. But I want you to think about this idea of making a decision, all right? Think about the hero's journey. I'll do a separate video about the hero's journey because I think it's very interesting and relevant. But consider that you are essentially making the decision to go on a quest, all right? And obviously the quest is to move towards your health goals. One mindset shift that I think is really important relating to that, making the decision, is to not obsess about the goal, but to obsess about the steps to get us there. One of my coaches talks about this idea of establishing for yourself what he calls a wildly important goal, okay, or WIG for short. So I really like that idea, okay, to identify what your WIG is, your wildly important goal. All right, and this is one of the things I focus on when I start working with people, to really get them to think about what their wildly important goal is. And the reason we do this is because we want to, as much as possible, understanding that we are human and that we might get distracted from time to time, but we want to focus as much as possible on our WIG, not our MIG. Okay, MIG stands for mildly important goal. Okay, and sometimes we get distracted in the moment. Let's say you decide to tidy your room and you get so focused on tidying your room, getting that done, that you actually keep going when you know you should probably pause and just recharge, take a breath. And that's because you're focusing on your MIG, your mildly important goal, rather than on your WIG. Okay? So it's important that we don't over focus on our MIG, but we keep our attention on our WIG, which is going to help us move towards our health goals. So that's the first thing, making a decision. Okay? And ultimately, if you're here watching this video, then you've made a decision that you want to be open to learning new ideas. Mari's saying she can see and hear me. Thank you for letting me know. All right. Let me know, to what extent do you think sometimes you get caught up in your MIG rather than your WIG? MIG is your mildly important goal. WIG is your wildly important goal. Okay. If you recognise that, you do get caught up in your MIG sometimes, just put an M for MIG. If you're really brilliant at focusing on your WIG, just put a W. There were many, many times when I got caught up in my MIG rather than my WIG. All right. So, and one of the strategies that I have for ensuring that I focus on my WIG is that I do a little daily visualization at the start of the day. That's part of my routine to actually help just remind me to think about my WIG and to do my tasks, do my activities of the day in alignment with the WIG. Okay, so just let me know. So that's the first thing, making a decision. Second thing is having a vision, okay? Having a big vision. What it might be, for different people, it's going to be different things. I've had clients who said, my vision, my goal, the whole reason why I'm here is I want to run a marathon, because for me, running a marathon represents me getting back to full health. So Mari says, thanks for letting me know. I can see there's other people watching. Let me know. What about you? That was a goal for some of my clients, to run a marathon, and they did it. All right. Another client wanted to get back to trail running. Other clients wanted to get back to doing sports. For me, one of my visions was playing tennis. So I would literally visualize playing a game of tennis every day. Okay. So we need to have a compelling vision that means that when we get tempted to go down a path that is leading us away from our goal, we remind ourselves what our vision is. Okay. So third thing is to think about your identity, how you see yourselves. To give you an example of this, there was a time, and this was also when I had MECFS and fibromyalgia, that I had low self-esteem. I had beliefs that things wouldn't work out for me, good things happen to other people. And I've had to really work at shifting those limiting beliefs. Okay. So now I have the belief that, I can build high self-esteem, and my self-esteem has shifted massively, since that period. I also have the belief that good things happen to me and that things work out for me, and I have to make them happen. Okay, so if I want more success, etc., then I have to be focused. I have to put the work in. If I look back, then there are times when I've just wasted so much time and so much energy, and I'll talk a bit more about that in a bit. And this is time and energy that I could have put towards building something, all right? And, it's really important that whatever you do, you make sure it's sustainable, okay? So that's one of my kind of values and part of my identity, that I'm prepared to work hard, but when people say with great pride, I did a 14-hour day for the last, month, I think, well, actually that for me doesn't sound very healthy, because I want to do things in a sustainable, healthy way. I've done it the unhealthy way, and that didn't really work out for me. All right. So consider that, what identity shifts do you need to make? As I say, at one point, I suppose my identity was quite small. All right. And now, I was a bit of a people pleaser, and I've let go of a lot of that. I was in a situation recently where someone made a statement, and in the past I wouldn't have got into a confrontation, but I just said what I thought, and actually someone else agreed with me. So that's part of my identity, that I'm no longer shrinking violet, which I used to be. All right. So, and let me know as we go which of these things particularly relate to you, resonate. So the next thing is thinking about, and this follows on from our identity, is what standards do we set for ourselves? So at one point, I didn't really, especially when I had MECFS, I didn't really set myself any standards, any goals, any expectations, okay? And I was kind of just drifting through the day, doing whatever, just going as I pleased, if you like. Didn't really have any structure. An example of that was, and this is not just when I had ME, even after I had ME, I'd wake up in the morning, I'd look at my phone, and sometimes half an hour, 3/4 of an hour, or even longer would pass. And I made a decision a couple of years ago that that's not really how I wanted to spend my waking moments, especially because I'm at my best in the morning, all right? That's when I feel most alive. So I made the decision that, okay, I'm going to get up, have a drink and do some exercise, doing about an hour and a half of exercise before I start work. And I'm not saying that that's bad. It might be that that's all you've got the energy for. But when I did have MECFS, actually, there were times when I did feel better in the mornings, and it was really useful to capitalize on it. So, for example, it'd be useful to be proactive, to do some yoga, some qigong. If I was not feeling so great, it'd be really useful to do a bit of guided relaxation, maybe listen to a guided relaxation, do some meditation. Okay, so just to be a bit more proactive, given that is when I felt good. And I like to think about I talk about this a fair bit, Vikings, when they landed on foreign soil, do you know what they did? Any guesses? Pop in the chat. What did Vikings do when they landed on foreign soil? They didn't set up knitting groups, as someone once commented. Any guesses what Vikings did when they landed on foreign soil? I'll give you a moment because I know there's a gap between me speaking and you hearing what I'm saying. So I'll give you the answer. They would burn their boats. They didn't leave their boats on the beach saying, oh, we'll leave it there just in case we don't succeed. They were all in, okay? They made that commitment. Okay, so next one, okay, is that, oh, hang on. Okay, for some reason I managed not to put the slide. That should be a slide of basketball players. So I want you to imagine basketball players. And actually, sorry, just going back to this standards, you know, you may have, there's a Navy SEAL, I think he's someone pretty senior in the Navy, and he gives this talk. One of the things he says is make your bed every morning. Now, one of the things I think is actually it's good to air your bed before you make it, but I do fold my bed over so it's tidy to air it. But that's something about setting a standard, you know, for oneself. And you might have different standards. You know, for me, one of my standards is that I brush my teeth twice a day. And I know some people, when I ask them how often do you brush your teeth, they say, oh, actually, that's something I need to do more. All right. So, you know, just think about that. What are your standards? So, as I say, imagine that's a picture of basketball, pro basketball players. So this coach that I worked with called Brian Johnson talks about the idea of going pro. And he says that amateurs dabble, but pros get serious. Okay. So again, this relates to the standards we set for ourselves and our identity, okay? And I really encourage you to go pro when it comes to being a self-healer, all right? A resilience builder. You know, at one point I was dabbling, and then over time, I got a bit more momentum going. I created some structures that were going to support my healing. So, for example, having a period of activity, having a break. Okay, and in my break period, I would be doing some relaxation. I'd be doing some connecting to my body, maybe doing some gentle yoga, qigong. I would be doing some work connecting to emotions, so that there were occasions when actually my emotions were affecting my energy. And by doing some work to do with connecting to my emotion, sitting with the emotion, processing the emotion, expressing the emotion in appropriate ways, actually had a help shift my energy. All right. So consider that. Need to go pro. All right. So the next thing is adopting a growth mindset. This is huge. Just to tell you the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And this concept was developed by Carol Dweck, professor at Stanford University. And she says that from her research that people with fixed mindset kind of adopt the idea that they can't change. All right. If they've got certain skills at a certain level, they just have this notion that this is just the way I am, you know, you're either born with it or you're not. So for example, when I was a kid and I was kind of learning the guitar a bit, I honestly, genuinely, this is ridiculous, but I honestly believed that one day I would just wake up and I'd be a great guitar player. And it hadn't occurred to me that if I wanted to be a really great guitar player, I had to practice. All right. And so one of the things, a few years ago, I bought a drum kit, which is just on the other side of this desk. And so I set myself the goal of spending 15 minutes every day practicing the drums. And I probably wasn't as disciplined as I could have been. I've now decided to move on to the piano. And I've just set myself the goal of 5 minutes on the piano, because I know that's doable. And actually, if I aim for 5 minutes, some days I might do 15. All right. And I've only been doing that for about a week, because my goal for this year was to start learning the piano, but I've just been busy. And I thought, it's not happening. So that's what I decided. And actually, I've had more success in the last week than I have in the whole year. All right. So someone with a fixed mindset has the attitude of they just do enough to get by. If their plan doesn't work, then that means it's not going to work. And they tend to quit when things get hard. People with the growth mindset adopt the idea that they can change, they can learn, and their effort determines their abilities. They keep on working on things and they go above and beyond what's required. They use the magic word, the growth mindset magic word. Any guesses what that word is? So I know there's a few people watching. Have a guess. What do you reckon? The magic word of the person with the growth mindset is the word yet. I haven't learned this yet. I haven't mastered this yet. Okay, the implication is that they will, all right? They have the belief that challenges make them stronger. And they say things like, my plan hasn't worked on yet. And there's another Navy SEAL. So Shashti says open-minded. Okay, so yeah, that's part of it. All right, but it is that idea of using the word yet. Okay, there's a Navy SEAL who has this mantra, bring it on. There's another Navy SEAL called Jocko Willink, who whenever his team came to him saying, we've got this problem, he would always say, good. And they were like, why is this good? He said, because we are going to figure it out. This is a challenge that's going to force us to find solutions. And he said there were many times he did active service, I think in Iraq. There were many times when they were in sticky situations and, their determination actually got them out of a lot of trouble. Okay, so let's go to the next one, which is this is about embracing the art of learning. Okay, so I talk about this acronym ARRT, where A stands for allow yourself. Actually, let's just allow yourself to be a learner. Okay. Often people put themselves under a lot of pressure because they think that they have to learn something more quickly than they are learning it. And Virginia Satir, who was a renowned therapist, said, I allow myself to be a slow learner. Okay, so that's the first thing. Allow yourself to be a learner. And for instance, when I was learning the drums, I realized initially I was generating a bit of stress because at some level, not necessarily consciously, I was saying to myself, I have to learn this more quickly. I'm not learning this quickly enough. Other people are probably learning it more quickly than me. And actually I had to get to the point where I just said, it doesn't matter what other people are doing. All right? I'm just going to go at my pace. And once I did that, I was much more relaxed in my approach. So the next thing is repetition. Okay? If we want to learn something, we've just got to keep revisiting it. So I'm reading a book at the moment and I'm making notes. And when I get to end of each chapter, I revisit my notes. I test myself. Okay, and that's the next thing, is to recall. If I get you to close your eyes right now, what are the first 3 words that I've just shared? Okay. The more we do that, this actually helps us learn. Okay. Even if you forget one of the elements, by practicing recall, you go, oh yeah, I forgot that one. And then you get some repetition going and you embed it further. All right. And then the T stands for teach. If you learn something, if you can teach at least a bit of it to somebody else, that helps you with your learning. All right. And the 8th point is to really be proactive in embracing an integrated model of health. So this is asking the question, what are the things that I can influence in relation to my health? What are the things that I can do that are going to support my healing? And what action can I take? So, for example, often when I talk to people for the first time, there are aspects of healing and recovery that they haven't considered. I do a little audit with people, and you can do this audit yourself. Put the word audit below this video and I'll send you the link. It's a free exercise and it will just give you some insights into some areas that you can focus on. And if you do that audit and want to just get some ideas of areas or steps you can take to work on that area, then send me a message and I'll send you some free resources that will help with that area. Okay, so just put the word audit in the chat if you would like access to that. So let's pause there and let's find out if you've got what are your takeaways? What are the areas that particularly resonated? Pop a comment in the chat, love to know. And if you've got any questions about what I've shared, pop them in the chat also. And just to let you know, next week I'm starting a 12-week Building Resilience course. Okay, so this is a course where we cover 9 areas that I think are essential for helping people move forward. If you'd like to know more about that, just comment the word group in the chat or send me a message and I will send you the link. You can check it out. You can decide whether it's for you. I am going to let a few people in who have financial challenges, so if finances are an issue, don't let that stop you. There are ways around that, okay? So, all right, so Mari says audit, please. I will send that to you, Mari. So thanks everybody for your participation, for joining me. In the next training, which may be in a couple of weeks or so, I will talk about shifting beliefs. If you've got any questions, if you've got any topics that you'd like me to cover, let me know. But for now, I will say thanks for watching, wishing you great health, and bye for now.